Good morning, 48 hours away from the summit that will change the world or not. Some big news here on two-way and in the world. We'll bring it all to you live. Dan Turrentine, Sean Spicer, and I will run through the day's events. And some of you may be listening. Two-way programs, Two-way Tonight, and this program, The Morning Meeting, are now podcasts. You can listen to them on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And that means on a regular basis, I'll have to be saying things like, for those listening to the podcast version, Dan is smiling. Or for those listening on the podcast version, Sean's in a different place today. So thank you for enjoying the program here on YouTube or on the Two-Way platform. But now you can listen as a podcast. And if you listen as a podcast, you'll have to listen with peace, love, and understanding. You won't be able to raise your hand, and you will not be able to put smack in the YouTube chat. Again, thank you for joining. Another big development here. Thanks to our friend from Ohio, 2 new theme song possibilities. Here might be my personal favorite.
Hey, Mark. Yeah. Hey, Sean. All right. Hey, Dan. Let's go. Come on, everybody. It's the morning show. Wake up, sunshine. A brand new day. The morning meeting's on two-way. Step on in. Don't be shy. We're gonna make the truth lie. We got the groove. We got the beat. News and voices from every street. You bring your mind. We'll bring the fun. Peace and love for everyone. Get on up to the morning meeting. Shake it now. Feel that greeting, left or right. We all belong. The morning meeting keeps you moving strong. Yeah, Mark's the man with the master plan. Sean's got moves, Dan's a style man. Questions fly, ideas collide. We all ride on this morning tide. Clap your hands.
All right, that's
Stomp
enough.
your feet. Stop singing loud.
I like it. It's got some pep, wakes you up.
Yeah, Sean, I never
So
I never read the chat, Sean, but if you just go by the chat, that may have passed Yacht Rock.
I look, I'm comfortable. I said this when we put it in our text chain the other day. If you're not familiar with Chairman of the Board, North Carolina beach band, I think that very reminiscent of that. I could live with that. It's not yacht rock, but it's peppy. I could dance to that. Well, I can't dance. So, but I could move to it. So it's strong.
All right, maybe a prayer to close the show. We'll have another option, but the chat loved that. And Dean from Ohio is just a genius with AI. So, Dean, thank you. All right, as always, if you want to be in on the conversation here, please raise your hand.
By the way, Dan, real quick, logistical question. Dan, I saw your post last night. Did you find the glasses or are these new glasses? For those who didn't see, Dan lost his glasses.
Oh,
on the
no,
way
no,
to
no.
Fox.
I didn't lose them. I was in a Fox has a studio where I am, I learned, and they could not get the light underneath, which with glasses, they usually turn off to turn off. And so I had like giant white, things on my glasses. You couldn't see
Raccoon.
my eyes. So they asked, can you see without them enough to do the show? And I'm like, sure. So I took them off. Yep.
Enough.
Yes.
That's the keyword. Can you see? Enough. Well,
That's all right.
All right, gentlemen, here we go. Since yesterday, since we last talked about Anchorage and the base were confirmed as the site. Caroline confirmed that the president's flying out Friday, so the summit won't start till the afternoon East Coast time. But perhaps most importantly, Caroline made clear the president's there to listen. He's not there to present a plan. He's doing a call at this hour, we're told, with the Europeans and Zelensky to run through the West's position. But it seems to me, Sean, more than even yesterday, that Putin could come in and spat a bunch of nonsense, and that could be it. This could be a very short meeting. So, based on the events since we met, are you? Let me ask it this way: do you think what's the best case for this meeting? Zelensky won't be there. Putin's presenting a plan. It seems improbable that he'll present a plan that the president would be for, let alone the Europeans and Zelensky. So How do you see the best case of this summit at this point?
So I guess it depends on who you are, what that best case is. I think if I were Putin, I would come in and say, I've drafted this plan for you. I think it's good. It recognizes this and try to use it to get Trump to sign off on it. I've never the lead up to this has been fascinating. JD in England over the weekend, but then this call this morning, the additional input that he's taking in. Look, Trump's the master. We've talked about this before, like producer. And so the question is all this pomp and circumstance to lead up to this? Because the Europeans are ecstatic that he's taking into their consideration other points. The best case scenario is that Trump comes out and says he presented a plan. I'm calling Zelensky and the Europeans. I don't think that MAGA wants that. I don't think that he wants that. I think he wants to listen to them, say that he got their input. Putin comes in, he hammers out a little bit of a deal and walks out and says, we nailed it. And I knew what the Europeans want. I knew what Zelensky could live with because I spoke to him, and I got a deal. And suddenly, because what they've done is everybody has shifted their expectations down to it's just going to be a photo op. And I think what Trump wants is, oh, yeah, you think it's a photo op? Watch this. So he's a master at playing everybody. And I just wonder if he is lowered expectations for a completely another reason, that he wants to come out with some sort of deal and say, see, I got it. So
Dan,
that's my take.
Dan, overnight being reported that Russia's on the offensive on the ground. Zelensky and his government seem pretty on edge about what the president might do, including as well as some of the Europeans. Do you share Sean's view that this could be a much more successful meeting than I feel it's going to be?
Yeah, I do. I agree somewhat with Sean. I think he's lowering expectations and trying not to box himself in because he always has to declare victory. Like, this was a great meeting and this is what I got. And so if the expectation was a peace deal, now you've set a really high bar. So I agree with Sean that I think he's trying to reset this so that if he comes out, he'll have something. He'll have a deliverable, as Bill Clinton's team used to always like to talk about. That's why I went, and this is what I got, and I'm the deal maker. I think the best case scenario actually is Putin announces a ceasefire for like a week or 72 hours, and Trump says it's a good start. He's willing to give up some stuff. He won't say what it is, and then he'll call Zelensky, call the Europeans, and see if he can say, look, guys, you're starting to lose more land and you don't have a lot of, leverage in this negotiation. I think Trump wants a deal. He wants a deal. He wants this over.
All I'll say again, and then we'll move on because we'll have 2 more days to talk about this, is I continue to worry about a ceasefire being violated and the West not knowing how to react to that. Okay, DC, overnight.
Wait, can you explain that? When you say you expect, like, is it that you mean that Putin would agree to thing and then violate it right off the bat?
Yeah, correct.
But wouldn't that? But if he does that, I guess my question would be, okay, if we walk out Friday night and Putin says there's a 7-day ceasefire, and on day 3 he violates it.
Yeah,
I mean, to some extent, I say this not that I want any destruction or death, but I feel like the quicker he shows his cards, the easier this is.
No, but then the president's back to he's not going to fund the war effort, and he doesn't seem to want to put on sanctions. But then we're back to the Biden policy, which may be the right policy compared to a war if Putin won't agree to a settlement. I'm just saying, if you agree to ceasefire and then Putin violates it, it's as if nothing.
But I guess my point is, I just don't have high expectations for Putin ever. I think he will violate whatever he says, and so the quicker he does it, the easier.
President's flying 5,000 miles to check it out, Dan.
I mean, I think the other option is the ceasefire starts Sunday, and Saturday night Putin unleashes, a massive barrage, and it keeps going past, a few hours, and Ukraine's like, well, now we got to respond.
All right, let me ask you one more question. As a percentage, 0 being it won't happen, 100 being 100%, what's the percentage chance that following the Trump-Putin meeting, there's a 3-way meeting that includes Zelensky? What's the percentage chance that happens, Dan?
40%.
40%. Sean?
15.
Yeah, I'm with Sean, 15. All right, DC.
At some point, they're going to have to talk.
National
No.
Guard and other federal agencies on the streets of D.C. last night. As Caroline said during the briefing yesterday, they're involved in making some arrests, including for some bad hombres. The mayor of the District of Columbia has started to make comments, and she's done it off and on the whole way. Conciliatory comments towards the president, private negotiations and planning meetings with the administration, but also expressing what I'm sure is both her actual feelings and the need to appeal to the base of the Democratic Party and her constituents by expressing concern about the symbolism and the substance of a federal takeover of DC law enforcement. Here's the mayor last night in some sort of online town hall.
Relates to the president's ability to declare a public safety emergency. We do not believe that we are experiencing a crime spike or are in an emergency status. In fact, MPD has been doing the job with community and all of their partners in government to drive down violent crime in the District of Columbia. We have, in fact, experienced a 26% decrease, and that's on top of the 35% decrease we saw in violent crime last year. While we're not without our challenges, we take care of our own business and we take care of our own people. We don't live in a dirty city. We are not 700,000 scumbags and punks. We don't have neighborhoods that should be bulldozed. I'm also really ticked off about the intrusion on the district's autonomy and the characterization of the good work that we do in this city to make it beautiful, to have excellent services, to attract millions of tourists, to have a growing school system, to have a growing city with new residents showing up every day.
Okay, now the national media, political media, a lot of it based in Washington, is out of its mind. And they continue to fight with the administration. Elizabeth Buellmiller of the New York Times, truly one of the best reporters in Washington, I'd say in the last 50 years. She's an incredibly good reporter. But I have to take respectful issue here. And I'm making her the spokesperson, not just for the liberal media, but for all the people in Washington who have lost their minds regarding quibbling with the president over statistics, rather than recognizing what they could walk around their newsroom and ask people who won't walk out at night with their kids and who have been robbed and carjacked. Here is Elizabeth Buellmiller of the New York Times on Morning Joe.
I mean, right now, I think a lot of this is just it's very good television for the president. And his description of Washington as this, as one of my colleagues at the Times called it, this sort of, this Mad Max hellscape with marauding gangs and violence everywhere, is just completely out of proportion with the reality. Yes, there's crime here, but it's down. And I think right now, last night we saw these troops on the mall around the monuments. There was nothing for them to do. They were taking pictures of themselves with visitors and with tourists. They hung around for about 2 hours and then they went back. It's very, very striking. And right now, again, they're not supposed to be arresting anyone. And it's unclear exactly, as you said, what they're going to do. They're going to.
Dan, what is the status of this operation substantively and politically?
Well, I think substantively, the show of force, obviously, I believe, deters crime. I mean, you just think twice if there's a bunch of Marines or soldiers, National Guards with guns, you're kind of like, let's move on. So I think it does just give the perception of calm and safety, and that's important. I think the politics of it, as you said, is unfortunately the Democratic Party is falling into the trap of, look, I share the frustration, as I tweeted, that Trump described DC as Mogadishu. Like, it is not. But crime is a problem. People do not feel safe. That is not a partisan comment. Like, I go back to so many friends when I just call them to say, like, hey, how you doing? How are your kids? Like, whatever. They say, man, it's changed. Like, even in some of the nicest neighborhoods.
Dan, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but stipulate it. We all know it's true. So, right. Of course it's true. Everyone we know knows it. So,
and so what I just don't understand is, I think where the Democrats have an opportunity is to say, okay, then what? So you have the National Guard for 30 days. Maybe they get another extension for another 30 days.
Yes, although Democrats in the Senate are talking about blocking it already.
Which is just stupidity.
And that's the way the law works, by the way. I said yesterday I didn't know.
No, actually, hold on.
Congress has to vote to extend it.
No. So just to be clear, the MPD, the Metropolitan Police Department, the president has 30 days to address them. He has complete and utter control of the National Guard.
Yeah, that piece
that he has 100%.
But I think that where the party has an opportunity is to do two things. One, again, then what? So we want to put 100,000 cops. Totally ironic because that was Joe Biden's idea in the 90s. But the second thing is, why aren't we talking about cities other than Washington, D.C.? Miami has crime problems. New Orleans, St. Louis. We heard about Kansas City. So kind of smoke Trump out. If he's really concerned about urban violence, let's go look at a lot of other cities. But instead, they hate the guy so much that they have to pull their hair out that he's Hitler and authoritative. And again, to me, this is like immigration. The public stops hearing you.
Yeah,
they just tune you out.
Sean, I'm going to risk everything and ask you to analyze Elizabeth Buehmiller, because you've dealt with Washington reporters on the left for a long time. How can these reporters, Elizabeth Buehmiller, Peter Baker, how can these reporters go out and say these things? How could it be?
Because they hate him.
I can't say I know where Elizabeth or Peter live, but I would bet that they are up in the Chevy Chase Circle area, if I had to guess.
There's crime up there.
And so that they don't deal with this stuff. They go up to the socials. No. But my point is that it's very different than walking around in the Navy Yard at night where gangs are coming through. Look, I said this the other day. I literally on the way to a Nats game, probably it's got to be 2.5 months now because it was in the spring. We're going down Independence Avenue in an Uber. A bicycle gang comes around us and just starts going up and down the street both ways. And I said to the driver, "What is this?" Not? He goes, "Yeah, can't do anything." So I asked the head of the DC Police Union on my show last night. He goes, "Yes, we are prohibited from addressing that. We're prohibited. We cannot do it. And if we actually were to corner them and get them, it's a traffic violation, not a crime." He went through all of the issues that exist in DC right now. They decriminalized so many of the things. You've got a prosecutor in the AG there in DC. This is what Jeanine Pirro was talking about, who literally doesn't believe in prosecuting criminals. He doesn't believe philosophically that that's what should happen. So DC decriminalized a lot of stuff. Number one. Number two, listen to of all the interviews that I've had, yesterday was probably one of the most fascinating. On the scene, they are told to downgrade things. So instead of a stabbing, it becomes a person that was injured on the scene. So it's not a violent crime. I mean, the stuff that the officers get told to do. There was a cop yesterday that very publicly got reprimanded a commander for rigging the statistics. You've got ABC News, Kira Phillips out there talking about carjacked or another colleague getting mugged. When Elizabeth Buehmiller gives on and says that this doesn't exist, that's literally the equivalent of Hunter Biden's laptop is fake news. They continue to do it on issue after issue.
Yes.
Well, and what's interesting, Mark, is if you and for people who don't know DC, the New York Times is right near the White House. The Washington Post is just a few blocks, north on K Street now. If you go a block north and east of the Post, I know Washington Post journalists who say they will not walk over to RPM restaurant and other things at night. No. The New York Times, if you go 3 blocks north in an area that used to be one of the most secure in the city, people are nervous at night now.
Yes.
Just walking to restaurant.
But I'm telling you, it's Northwest Washington too.
I agree. It's up in Chevy Chase.
It's the whole city.
Yep, Spring Valley. I agree.
But for reporters to say this, it's not just bad journalism. It's once again defining the brand in opposition to Donald Trump in counter to the facts.
So one, I think it's reflexive for most of these reporters. But here's the thing that I find funny. So many of the hits against Donald Trump are he didn't accept this data, he manipulated this data, and then it comes to crime. And it's unequivocal, a fact. You have multiple instances, you have legislative actions that were taken by the DC City Council to undermine the data. And yet they'll go after Donald Trump for manipulating data. And then when the District of Columbia and other cities manipulate their crime stats, they go, crime is falling. Everything's great. We feel safe. It is so ridiculous the length to which they'll go to cover for their own side. Right. So if any of these cities were run by anyone on the Republican side, it would be a very different story.
Right. All right. One more on this, and then we're going to move topics. And again, if you want to be in the conversation, raise your hand. And because it's a podcast, I have to do my best NPR thing. You're listening to the morning meeting on two-way with Dan Turrentine and Sean Spicer. I'm Mark Halperin. Morning meeting continues now. Maryland Governor Wes Moore, potential presidential candidate, even though he says he won't run, was on Fox and Friends this morning. I wonder how that booking came about. I'm sure they have a standing offer for Wes Moore to be on Fox and Friends whenever he wants. Why did they offer today? Why did he accept? Who knows? But here's Wes Moore talking about crime in his city and his state.
But you don't like the actions that the president is taking right now. Why?
Well, you know, when I came in, I said that the number one priority that we had as administration was to make sure that our communities were safe. You know, before I became governor, for the 8 years before I became the governor, Baltimore City went 8 straight years of 300 plus homicides. The year before I became the governor, Baltimore City averaged about a homicide a day. And I said, I refuse to be a governor who's going to spend my time offering eulogies and giving thoughts and prayers, that we actually need to have resources and coordination that was going to help to fundamentally address the problem. As people of my state have learned, you know, I don't come from a political background. My background is I'm a soldier. And so what we did was we made historic investments in local law enforcement, that we invested over $50 million in the Baltimore City Police Department alone, that we made historic investments in technologies and predictive analytics, and saying if someone commits a violent crime, particularly with a firearm, I want them in handcuffs in 24 hours. And saying that we made historic investments in our community groups, working with the mayor, working with our county executives, working with the community groups and our violence intervention and violence interruption groups, to making sure we can stop crime before it happens and making sure we don't have this retaliatory cycle of violence.
I'm going to take the liberty of speaking for all three of us and saying that was a kick-ass answer. None of us could take any exception with the strength of that in style and substance and demeanor and everything else. Sean, which Democrats, and if you want to say more, which Democrats do you think, doing a good job of responding to the situation in DC?
I think, so too. I think Wes Moore's probably doing the best, and I still don't think it was great, but because again, I agree with more Dan. I would have said, look, you know, these are areas where we can come together. Crime and safety isn't a political issue. It's something that Republicans, Democrats, Independents all agree on. I mean, like, I will say you know, if you're grading on a curve, he's the best. I also think that Mayor Bowser has done a pretty decent job of not being completely reflexive in her hate toward Trump. She's been talking about working with him. I will say it was mind-blowing that the chief of police yesterday couldn't answer the question of what chain of command was.
Yes.
That's pretty scary. But Mayor Bowser has done a good job of laying out the authority. She's walked through the law, the DC charter, what home rule is, what authority she has and doesn't have. I think she's been, for a Democrat in responding, handled this in a fairly smart way.
Dan.
Yeah, I agree. I'll just add, those who have been quiet, you don't hear Whitmer, Shapiro, Bashir saying anything, which to me is smart. Like, if you don't want to, you know, don't bash them. They probably agree with him. They will have to address this. But I think it's that they're smart. And actually, I'll add that, you know, Wes Moore did kind of follow that playbook of saying, let's talk about a permanent solution. How are we going to get this down over the next 5 to 10 years? And you heard the kind of, I think, a smart way, and he didn't take the bait. He did not hammer Trump. And that, to me, that is really smart. You're not boxing yourself in, because this is probably going to be successed. So right. Why go on the record? Terrible.
I will say this. The one thing that's lurking in the back of, I'll put it to you, Dan, but I've got to imagine in the back of every Democrat's head is, oh, wait a second. 18 months ago, I bashed the heck out of the police. I said they should be defunded. They were horrible people. We should be sending out social workers. So now suddenly to be talking about being tough on crime. At some point, that ping pong back and forth between your positions on crime and your party for most of these leaders is not strong.
Well, I think, look, most of these people we're talking about did not call for defunding the police, right? The AOCs of the world, the Bernie Sanders, yes. Look, this is where, again, Trump derangement syndrome, you keep hearing Democrats going back to January 6th, right? Which I think to me is just like, God, stop pulling at that Band-Aid. Like, stop trying to relitigate that. But I think that's, where people in our party say, all right, we weren't great and defund the police.
Yep.
Trump
Right,
was
guys.
terrible with that,
5 topics. We're going to do them really fast. So please, short answers. The president's nominee to be the head of the BLS, Mr. Antoni, in the past has said, maybe we don't need these monthly reports. Caroline yesterday said, well, we'd like monthly reports, but we'd like them to be good. He has to go through the help committee in the House, in the Senate, and the chair there, Mr. Cassidy of Louisiana, has a lot of questions, as do other members of the committee. Dan, will Antoni be confirmed as head of the BLS?
No.
Sean?
Yes.
The correct answer is no. No, I think
Murkowski is going to not. Yeah,
I actually don't know. I guess no.
Well, just remember, you can get him out of committee unfavorably and still put him on the floor.
You can. All right. The Kentucky Senate race is getting a lot of attention. It's an open seat, and Mitch McConnell's seat, and there's 3 candidates running, maybe 4. We'll see. But the front runner right now is a guy named Nate Morris, and he has the support of lots of MAGA folks. The president hasn't endorsed him yet, but he's a friend of the vice presidents. He's a friend of tons of prominent MAGA people. Here is a new negative ad being run against Mr. Morris.
Fake Nate Morris. Is anything he says true?
I'm Nate Morris, a pro-Trump conservative businessman.
Pro-Trump? Oh, please. Morris donated thousands to Nikki Haley. And as CEO, Morris was so woke, he literally signed a pledge promoting DEI.
Because I'm a Trump guy, not a McConnell boy.
Wrong again, Nate.
I made contributions to Mitch McConnell.
Fake Nate Morris. Fully woke and full of shit. Keep America Great PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Sean, first question again. Let's go quick. Will he be the nominee?
Yes.
Okay, and take a little longer. Why has this primary had such resonance within your world? Why do so many people we know in Republican politics care so much about this primary?
Well, because it's a proxy. And of all of them, this is McConnell versus Trump. You've got 2 prominent McConnell acolytes, Daniel Cameron, the former attorney general, who is very close to McConnell, and Andy Barr, current congressman, close to McConnell, against Nate Morris. And to your point, again, I think it would be an understatement to say that he's got a lot of support. He has the entire MAGA infrastructure behind him.
But not the president.
Well, that's so far.
Yeah.
But I would just argue that I found that ad sort of ineffective and over the top. I actually think whoever funded that should be really pissed off about how it doesn't work. And frankly, it's sort of stupid because you've got 2 guys who are widely aligned with McConnell. Nate has had the level of endorsements and machinery behind him from MAGA world is so it's
almost like nothing else.
But they cannot, like, it just, to me, it was so over the top wrong. I think they could have come at this very differently. In fact, this may strengthen Nate coming out of this, but he will be the nominee. I think the president will eventually endorse him, only because, again, you've got Cameron and Barr that are very closely associated with McConnell. And look, he's been very successful. He's got a very J.D. Vance type hillbilly elegy story, rags to riches, single mom. Like, he's just. It's a great story. People like him, and he comes across well. I'm telling you, I think this ad's going to boomerang.
Okay, people do like him, but there's some opposition research coming about his business, quote unquote, success. Dan, just quickly, and we'll give you more time on the next one. Will he be the nominee?
I'll trust Sean knows the MAGA world better than I do. Yes.
Okay. Senator Brown said yesterday he's going to run.
Can I make one more quick point? I think what's been fascinating to me about Kentucky, though,
I yield my time.
Mitch McConnell.
Thank
you.
Sean, we got to go fast. We got to go fast.
No. To me, what I think has been fascinating is McConnell is not the sort of the boss of Kentucky and the Republican Party. He gets reelected. But it's not because he's well liked. Yeah. He's had a great machine. And so it's not going to transfer the way that like a Harry Reid could have done in Nevada.
Yeah. All right. Dan, and of course he's got 2 candidates in the race. So I don't even know if he's endorsed. I don't think he has. Dan, Senator Brown of Ohio is running again for the Senate against the person who was appointed to J.D. Vance's seat. Probably, except for maybe Tim Ryan, who's now talking about running for governor of Ohio, probably the only Democrat have a chance in hell to win that seat. How would you praise Senator Brown's chances of winning and returning to the Senate?
Well, Sherrod Brown's one of the smartest political people that I've ever met in terms of understanding his state, understanding what it takes to succeed. If you look at, historically, like when he ran in 2006, at the time, he was anti-NAFTA, anti-trade, anti-Iraq. People were like, that'll never work. And he's like, no, in Ohio, I think it will. It tells me that Sherrod would not be doing this at his age to just go lose by 5 or 10 points. He must see stuff on the ground that gives him the confidence that I can do this. And so that gives me some optimism. Kudos to Kirsten Gillibrand. I'm really hard on him. Chuck Schumer. They got him again to run along with Roy Cooper.
After getting their candidate in North Carolina.
Yeah, like that's a big deal. And I think, again, I don't know Tim Ryan's odds in the gubernatorial race, but that's as strong a ticket as you would hope. And Sherrod also, don't forget, if he wins, he would have to run again in 28, which is when the seat is naturally up. This is a special election coming up in 26, likely with J.D. Vance at the top of the ticket. Again, Sherrod's not running just for vanity and like, I got nothing else to do. He must think, and he only lost, I think, by 3 points in 2024 with Trump winning the state by whatever it was, 13. So great job for the Dems.
Okay. Sean, what percent chance would Brown have in the general election of winning that seat?
I'd say 55-45.
Really?
I think he's, wow. I think that Dan's right. I mean, look, he came up barely against JD. If this was Bernie Moreno running, I'd say that he didn't have a shot. I think the problem with Husted is he does, it's the opposite of Kentucky. I don't think you're going to see MAGA go out there and hit the pavement for him the way that they would for Bernie Moreno. So, and I mean, remember, this is DeWine's pick. So I don't, he's going to have to get enthusiasm up. He's not out there doing the stuff. You mentioned Cassidy, the chairman of the Help Committee. Like, there's a lot of these guys that recognize, okay, I need to get MAGA fired up and going as I go into go into cycle. I don't know that I've seen this guy in a single interview on our side. And to Dan's point, Sherrod Brown's very well known in the state. He's very populist. He has his finger on the pulse. So I don't think I wouldn't bet on him, but if there's anyone that could, that's who I'd go with.
Yeah. All right. Again, raise your hand if you want in the conversation. And again, you're listening to Two Ways the Morning Meeting on Sirius XM now. You're listening to wherever it's playing.
We need like a little jingle after the way NPR has that little.
We'll get that. All right. This is a complicated story. We're going to do it quick. This is DNC, the DNC headline, Paul. The DNC is going to have a meeting and they're going to consider some resolutions. A couple of them are about Israel. And one of them is about trying to keep super PAC money, dark money, so-called dark money, out of the presidential primary. Not that. We want the New York Times or the Axios headline. Here's how Axios framed this.
So I wanted to show you something.
In their write-up of this. The Democratic National Committee will consider 2 Gaza-related resolutions at its meeting this month, including one that asked the party to impose an arms embargo on Israel. The draft resolution is part of a package shared with DNC members and seen by Semaphore, also contains language that would recommend, quote, enforceable steps to stop super PACs from interfering in the party's 2028 presidential primary, a position shared by Chairman Ken Martin and by Bernie Sanders. So again, quickly, guys, on the Israel thing, the drift in the party, particularly amongst younger voters, is more anti-Israel. Dan, will this resolution pass? Will a resolution calling for an embargo, arms embargo, will it pass? Should it pass?
It will. It shouldn't. This is Dumb and Dumber. These two, it's so idiotic. First off, we're now back to cancel culture. So you can't be for Israel. There can't be any ambiguity. And 2, these absurd contribution bans. It was PAC money like 20 years ago. All you're doing, this is what happens. You get, let's say Bernie Sanders or AOC runs, gets the nomination and they win. They're going to turn around and then try to find loopholes because JD Vance is going to be mowing them down.
The resolution only applies to the primary. It does not apply to the general.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so, okay, that hypocrisy right there is idiotic. Like, it's dumb and dumber.
Sean,
Okay.
do you think these
All right, hold on.
resolutions will pass? I know you're delighted that they're even being considered, but will they pass?
So hold on. 3, 2, 1. Just some room tone for this. Ken Martin can barely step off a curb, never mind curb dark money in politics. I think that these are both so stupid. The idea that this is what they're like going after Israel and then trying to curb dark money, which you can't do. I mean, you might as well say that the DNC has got a resolution that says it's going to urge the sun to come up an hour later. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I spent 6 years dealing with these at a party. Like the idea that anyone gives a crap what the national party thinks on any issue on resolution is ridiculous. All you do is create what this is, a bad story that no one cares about. Like resolution should be thanking people for their service. I mean, it's like a student council thing. So I dealt with this for 6 years on my side. I laugh at now watching these guys do with this stuff. If Ken Martin wanted to do his job and raise some money, I think that's where his time should be best spent. But the idea that he's managing resolutions that are going to dig them deeper into a hole is stupid.
All right, a couple more things and then your questions. First of all, if you're interested in public opinion, and particularly on the Democratic side on Israel, read Bill Galston's column in the Wall Street Journal today. Very ominous. If you're a believer in Americans supporting Israel, you will be surprised yet again at the data and how particularly younger people on both sides, but particularly on the Democratic side, really do not have your mommy and daddy's level of support for Israel. It's quite something. Okay. President Trump is going to the Kennedy Center today. We're expecting the Kennedy Center honors to be announced today. You have to, I forgot to do the day book. Thank you, Paul. I forgot, but there's not much going on. You have to be willing to be an honoree. You can't just, they can't just announce people. So they got to check with them all. And you can expect this to skew to Trump supporters. There's talk about George Strait, about Kiss, about Michael Crawford as potential honorees. Who knows who will be honored? But I can tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, the president of the United States is a showman. And I give you exhibit 9700. Paul, please play 109. This is from Israel's version of Dancing with the Stars. All right, enough of that. We just like to show you good videos. And to that end, here is something you don't see every day. The greatest baseball player of the modern era hitting into a triple play. 110, please.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Lined up the middle. Neto's got it. Steps on second. Throw to first. It's a triple play.
Whoa! A pitcher's best friend.
Shohei hits into a triple play to win the inning. And Rushing is slow to get up at first.
Yeah, I hope he's okay.
What a moment here at Angel Stadium in the Freeway Series with Shohei Ohtani right in the middle of it. A man who's always involved in history. Lines into a triple play in a tie game here in the 6th inning at the Big A.
Oh, we say when Shohei.
All right. Enough of that. Now it's time for you all, the two-way community, a big part of the program, especially when we're on the podcast version. Christian, welcome in, unmute. Tell folks who don't know where you are and what's on your mind for Dan and Sean, the YouTube world, the two-way platform, Apple, Spotify, wherever you want to access the morning meeting. Christian, welcome.
Good morning. I'm in Clinton, Tennessee, East Tennessee near Knoxville. First time on the platform.
Grateful to have you here. Thank you.
I'm a normal YouTube listener because I could listen at 2x. So if you want me on the platform here more often, you're going to have to find a way to do the live show 2x. But
all right, talk faster.
Yeah,
just talk fast.
I'm not a fast talker, so yeah, can't live up to it.
Yeah.
My question is about Ukraine, specifically, why aren't we hearing any more about the rare earth minerals deal?
Yeah.
Is that a big motivation in Trump's mind? How seriously does he feel about it?
Fantastic question. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, I was just looking up though while we were in the earlier part of the program, and it seems that their reserves are actually quite small, and that it's not expected to be a big factor, like 1% of the world's reserves, and that it would take billions of investment to even get it going at all. And it's in, that east contested area. So I don't know, how hard may Trump push that, or how big does that factor into his thinking?
Yeah, great question. Sean.
Again, a great question. I think that what's driving him more than anything is the idea of saying that the war is over, right? That he got peace. That's the number one, number two, and number three thing right now.
I think that was just a total farce to show that that we were getting something, so that because we were going to continue to put money, it's like Doge. You don't hear about it anymore. There's just more and more statistics coming out about what a joke it was. Like, he's a showman, he got good headlines.
All right, Christian, I bet I understand a little bit. I think you're going to hear more about it as the reality of, as much as Putin is threatened by Ukraine's military integration into Europe and with the West, he's also threatened by their economic integration, but it's going to be harder for him to reject that. So I think this deal will come back to the fore if there is a deal where the Ukrainians can feel that they are at least headed towards being part of the West, even if it's not through NATO. Christian, thank you. Robert, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are and what's on your mind for Sean and Dan.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm from Los Angeles, California, so
Nice.
that's why I'm chiming in. I have two questions, and I'll be extremely brief. The first is the New York mayor's race. I don't understand why it is nationally important, because we don't talk about who the mayor of Miami or the mayor of Dallas or the mayor of Houston or the mayor of Seattle. I don't understand why it's a big national deal. So that's the first question. I'd like to have all your there.
Yes, sir. Okay. Dan, go first. He lives in New York. He can explain.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the biggest city in the country. It's home to the kind of media capital of the world, of the United States. And two, I just think the result was so shocking, in that you had this person who came from out of nowhere with a message that was not something that people thought would resonate, that did. And obviously, at the same time, the Democratic Party nationally is leaderless and rudderless. So I think, well, no, but I mean, we all laugh, but it's true. And I think, don't forget, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are in New York. Like, that's where they live. And the fact that a socialist, a proud, avowed socialist won, I think was like, whoa, is something happening out there? Is the Democratic Party moving further to the left? And is this a harbinger of things to come?
Don.
Yeah. So, Robert, first of all, I think it's a great question. I've always, for a long time, it's fascinating. Like, why do we care about this more than others? There is something symbolic about New York City. I mean, it is where so many people came through. It's so big. The police force is massive. It was attacked in a spectacular way on 9/11. I mean, because of its symbolism to America, the Statue of Liberty is there. I mean, so I get your point. I agree with you. Like, for the longest time, I always said, why do we care? Why does they get overshadowed? But then I think on the political front, Dan's right. There was something very significant about the shift in what to read out of this race. And the third piece I'd say is that it's also like, there's not politically, you've got New Jersey, Virginia, and the New York mayor's race. So you try to figure out what's going on to talk about politically. And that's where, in a normal, if this was in cycle of a even year, we wouldn't be talking about it the same way.
Right. And not to, go ahead.
Well, I'll just say, because I've studied this for my whole career, 15% on the merits, biggest city, tourism, all that, 15%, 85% people in New York. That's where the media is. It's 85%
Understood.
Total crap. 85% just absolute, like that old New Yorker cartoon.
I was gonna say,
Perspective from Manhattan.
Right,
It's 85%. And you see stories all over the country that if they happened in New York would be 1,000 times more covered. It's just complete bias. That's all it is.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on a little bit of what all you said, because again, I understand that people are making this big kind of socialist push and so on and so forth, but my theory is that, or my belief is that whatever the people in that region or in that city decide, if that's what they want, that's what they want. That's how democracies work. So second question, and again, I'll be very brief. In terms of Israel, is Israel, is this a topic that unites both the Democratic and Republican Party? And the reason why I say that is that, as you guys just earlier mentioned, it seems like on the ground, those under the age of 40 in both parties are kind of tending towards being kind of anti-Israel. You see Marjorie Taylor Greene, you see Thomas Massey, you see all the podcasters from Joe Rogan to the Neek Boys to a myriad of others are slowly beating that drum of being kind of against funding Israel and stuff like that. So you see it on both sides.
Yep.
So is it something that is somewhat uniting a very younger demographic?
It is, Sean.
It's actually a brilliant observation. There's a lot of things. There's a huge shift about what matters above and below a certain age. And I think this goes back to sort of the America First agenda, like these guys who don't want any intervention. And I understand, I think in many cases, without getting into it too much, just to say, I think we overdid it for years where we, and the same thing's true on trade. It was like we used trade as a soft power tool. And we finally came to say, why do we still do it? The Soviet Union's gone. Like, we don't need that anymore. And so I think there's these legacy policies about how we do business around the world where people are like, yeah, that's their fight. That's their problem. That's not ours. And yeah, I agree with you. There's something very unique about the alignment of this at a certain age.
Robert, I couldn't agree with you more, which is why I said the other day, I don't know if you were watching, that this could become a problem for JD Vance. I agree with you. I think under 40 Republicans, all these new people coming into MAGA, into politics, as you say, through the Theo Vaughn, kind of Joe Rogan, like the crypto guy, like they are not pro-Israel. It is this like, why is my money going there? Why do we bother? I don't like, this doesn't look good. I don't want anything to do with it. The Iraq war, like it's just a morass of mess and corruption. And that's why I think both parties, it is going to be an interesting thing. It's worse on our side, but I think if I'm JD Vance, I am not locking arms with Bibi the way Donald Trump has. Yeah. I'm just not.
Robert, I'll say one more thing, and I'll say it carefully so not get backlash unnecessarily. You think of all the money AIPAC has, all the money wealthy Americans who support Israel have, many of whom are Jews. You think of Israel itself. Very accomplished group of people, all of whom are sitting by and doing nothing that I see to try to work on this. Like, they need a big PR public education campaign with young people. And I see no evidence that they're doing it. AIPAC does a lot of stuff. They bring a lot of people to Israel. They lobby, they give money in campaigns. They try to win Democratic primaries in particular. But man, if you care about rebuilding and sustaining American support for Israel, there should be a $100 million project of public education for young people in both parties, because it's all happening. I mean, it's to use the cliche, it is spreading like wildfire in both parties.
Yeah.
It is,
yeah,
it's
also,
out of control. And I just say, there are a lot of parents I know who are supportive of Israel who have kids who are not. And those parents need help. Those parents need some help to know what to say to their kids to try to stem this. Go ahead, Robert.
Well, can I just add though, Mark, because this goes to your point. They are trying to do it. And I know some people in both parties, podcasters, influencers, others, they're offering to have them go to Israel, tour, meet with people.
They're doing that.
Hold on.
That's not enough.
They're rejecting it.
Yeah. Yes.
And that should be scary.
Yeah.
Is the old tools in the toolbox are not working as much.
But so they need to be flooding the zone. Go ahead, Robert. Sorry. Go ahead.
Does that make Israel a very toxic topic for those in the political
Yes.
political
Yes.
spheres
Yes.
to either raise money or to bring it up. Because if that's the first or second question you're asked on the campaign trail, like, I don't know if you've seen a lot of these town halls since they've adjourned the House, that when they're going to these town halls from Nebraska to Maine or wherever, huge outcry of
Yeah.
like, why is our money going to Israel? And these are just bread and butter folks. They're just like coming in.
For decades, almost every, not every, but almost every member of Congress was supportive of Israel. And it either didn't come up, or if it did, it was a layup. You said, we stand with Israel.
Yeah.
They are resting on their laurels.
It's funny that we're talking about this in this context, because I remember when I left the U.S. Trade Rep's office in the second term of Bush, we're having these conversations with a lot of businesses saying the issue of trade is slipping away. There is less, like, people aren't seeing it in the same way anymore. It was for the longest time on both sides of the both parties. It was a given. You were going to vote for trade stuff. And it started to slip away with NAFTA, with Roth-Perot. And everyone sat there. And to Mark's point about the money, all these business groups sat there and said, how could you be against it? Like, there's no way. And they just watched it. And suddenly you've now ended up very anti in the same.
Perfect comparison.
Yeah.
Perfect comparison. If you could turn the clock back, the Chamber of Commerce, Business Roundtable, National Association, even manufacturers, they all should have been spending tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars keeping free trade consensus together. And instead, they just sat by while the wildfire burned on the far left, populist right. It's happening on Israel. And I'm just amazed. The Israelis are so good at so many things. Their PR is horrendous. And it happens every time there's a conflict, every time there's a controversy. But this is different. The bipartisan consensus in favor of Israel is crumbling. And again, go read Bill Galston's column. It's got all the data in it about where it is. Robert, thank you for being part of Two Way.
Mark and Sean, can I ask you a question? Because we've talked about it. We talked about it in the group chat. Steve Bannon flirting with potentially running. Could you see Bannon going at Vance on this? Would be one of the issues where he would try to say, like, what if Miriam Adelson says,
if he ran, of course,
yeah, I'll put in $50 million for JD Vance in a super PAC, and Steve Bannon says, aha,
yeah,
I'm flipping this. He's
course.
Bought by AIPAC. He's paid for it.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, Max, real quick, because we're short of time. We got some other business to do.
Great, no problem. Thanks.
Where are you?
Lake Como in Italy.
Max, that's a good name for you. Do you get that?
There.
Do you get that reference, Max? Max, that's a good name for you. Do you get
Yes.
that? Okay. And then number two, of course, give George our best.
So real quick, to allude to Sean Spicer, what he said before mentioning Bush, because I know you guys are on a timeline. The soft underbelly of racism is low expectations, and seeing from here the reaction from media types as well as left leaning or left elected officials are giving Trump such an easy win with DC. The question I have for you all: has anybody looked up ShotSpotter on DC today? DC has a ShotSpotter app where you could see how many firearms were discharged, normally illegally. The answer is 0, and that is going to be an easy drum to beat. And I don't understand how the left continues to give such easy layups to a guy who's an incredible political animal. So the question I have for you all is, how can the media and the left continually fall into the same trap over and over again? Do they like getting, do they like being abused? And with that, I'll stop.
It's hard to think clearly with Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
Dan.
Mark said it. They just hate the guy so much they can't see straight.
And the other thing, Max, is of course, I'll say the most obvious thing possible. Trump understands all this. This is all well thought through. And but here's the miscalculation the left makes. They think it's all a gimmick. They think it's all inspire the MAGA base. Ironically, the things that most discombobulate the dominant media and the Democrats are things they think Trump's doing that only appeal to the base, when in fact they have broad appeal: immigration, crime, going after changing NATO. Like, he's doing popular things, and they're screaming about norms. It's happened for 10 years.
And the status quo.
Correct.
So
Sean?
I think the thing that's fascinating to me, and I'm scrolling through our group chat, not Dan's group chat show, But on Friday before the show, I sent this political story to the group and said, we need to talk about this because it's the idea that Trump made an announcement on Monday morning at 10 a.m. about DC crime. And it is Wednesday and we're still, it just shows you how brilliant of a producer he is.
Yeah.
He said, I'm going to change the entire narrative that the country is going to talk about and get everybody in this exactly to Max, to your point. And I reflexively know it. Like he had his finger on the pulse so well that he thought, I'm going to announce this thing. Everyone's going to go nuts. And for 4 or 5 days, you'll still be talking about it.
And you know what's remarkable,
Hold on. Let the Max get one more answer.
There's just certain things that I just still can't understand. Yes, he has his pulse on it, but the reaction from the left and from elected officials, again, using George Bush's analogy that, low expectations is a soft underbelly of racism, to say, oh, well, it's not that bad. That's, only 100 people were shot yesterday. Or I saw the mayor of Baltimore beating his chest that only 100 people were killed in Baltimore.
Well, look at Politico did an analysis today and said they've only can confirm 2 billion in savings. And I'm like, yeah, it sucks when you only get 2 billion in savings. Like it's just they hate him so much that nothing is ever going to be good enough.
But we're talking about murder is the worst of the worst.
Max, we understand. We understand why you don't understand, but I'll just say it's hard to think straight with Trump derangements.
Well, and it's also true. Look, you also have to just. One, he did describe a scene that is not true, right? So one, it just sets people off. It just set them off.
Some of them, the rapists and murderers, some of them are good people too, as he said when he announced for president. Max, thank you. Enjoy the pasta. I recommend the tomato sauce.
And actually, by the way, for the first 12 hours, Democrats were somewhat silent. And I think then the base said that's unacceptable. And so then they all,
correct. The history of it. Someone should go do a history of this. Sean, what do you have tonight?
There's been a lot of allegations that Adam Schiff leaked information to set up Donald Trump. Tonight, John Solomon joins the show for the latest on the Russia hoax and where we are with Adam Schiff.
Okay. Two-way tonight amongst our guests will be Beverly Hallberg, a fan favorite. If you've ever seen Beverly on the show, people love when Beverly's on. No episodes this week of Bridget's show or of Megan's show. So two ways today. This program, which is ending in moments, and then I'll see you at 6 for two-way tonight. I'll be on Smirkanish at 10 in moments. And don't forget, new episode of Next Up has dropped, including my extended conversation with Drew Holden and Steve Krakauer about the media's continued bias against Donald Trump, even as there are efforts underway at some big legacy organizations to try to fix things. Again, the program's a podcast now. So if you'd like to listen again, please recommend it to your friends. Wherever you get your podcast, you can listen to both the morning meeting and two-way tonight at double speed if you like it. And there's nothing more dulcet toned than Dan Turrentine at 2x. And you can listen to him again on Apple and Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. We are still in the throes of selection of the program, of this program's theme song. Beginning of the show, we played you a Motown version. Here is the first attempt. Thank you, Dean from Ohio, of a country western version. I quite fancy this one. We'll see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern time, but stay tuned in 3, 2, 1.
Pour your coffee, pull up a chair. Mark, Sean, and Dan are on the air. From the hill to your hometown street, it's the place where all folks meet. Good morning from the morning meeting, where the facts are fresh and the takes keep heating. Left to right, we all belong on two ways, where the truth rides strong. Mark's got questions sharp and sly, sees the story through both eyes.
a big country western fan, and I love that one. The phone lines are open now. If you want to vote for that one, call 900-887-4242. Again, now there's no 900 number, but
Sean, who do you have now? Which one? You've heard a bunch.
Where are you, Sean?
Still yacht?
I'm always also 100% yacht rock.
Yacht all day long.
And then the one from the beginning this morning.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear a straight country. That was definitely country western.
That was a little quick for me. Yep, for country.
All right, Dean.
Yeah.
Dean, give us a country ballad, and I've requested Mercy Beat.
Oh,
So those
wait,
two are
a ballad? You want a ballad? I mean, okay, I just want straight country. I want country.
All right.
Yeah.
Country. Forget about it. Straight country and Mercy Beat are coming. Again, let us know which ones you like. But Sean's for Yacht Rock. I'm for the Motown one currently.
I'm still number one.
Yeah. All right. So we got 3 different choices. 3 hosts, 3 choices. It's a problem with 3 hosts. Thank you for watching. Sorry, affiliates. We ran a minute over. We'll see everybody in about 23 hours here on the morning meeting. Available now as a podcast.
Bye.